derived class, it will going to acquire the features of base class as well as it can has its own features. So here I need to check it out whether the name or member function name is same as the base class name. If I am using base class and derived class, I must know that I have to create an object. I have to create an object only for the derived class. I am creating an object for the derived class. So can I call the derived class constructor first? No. Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the session 2 on inheritance. So before getting into the today's session, I would like to recap the first session's concept. So what are all the things that I have discussed in the first session of inheritance chapter? There I have discussed what you mean by inheritance and what is the need of using inheritance, and there you have to consider two things, that is what you mean by base class and what you mean by derived class. So there you have to concentrate on how to define the derived class along with the terminologies. That and all you have to concentrate. After that, I have discussed what are the needs of using inheritance. That means what are the advantages of using inheritance. Then I have a discussion regarding visibility mode. There I have discussed whether it is publicly derived or a privately derived or a protectedly derived. So those are the things you have to concentrate. And next main important topic is levels of inheritance or types of inheritance. There we have 5 types of inheritance: single level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple as well as hybrid inheritance is there. So in all the 5 types of inheritance, you have to concentrate its syntax along with the diagrammatic representation. So this was the things which I have discussed in the previous session. Now let me get into today's session. So in this session, I have few topics to explain you all, so that in this session I am going to discuss or I am going to explain you one program which is to illustrate single level inheritance. Already we know that if it is single level inheritance, then there must be only one base class and only one derived class. So with the program I am going to explain you today. After that, I have a virtual base class and what you mean by abstract classes. After that, I am going to discuss how can I use constructors and destructors in derived class. So these are the content which I am going to discuss in the today's session. So let me get into the first topic, that is a program in order to illustrate the single level inheritance. So you can expect this question for 5 marks. It is important for 5 marks. So here you have to analyze one thing. If it is single level inheritance, then there must be only 2 classes. Which are the 2 classes that I must have? There must be only one base class and one derived class. So base class will going to have its own characteristics. That means it attributes along with the behaviors that represents the data members as well as the member function. If I have one more derived class, in the sense that derived class or a child class or a subclass will going to have a features from the base class. So what it will going to have? It will going to have a features from base class. That means it is inheriting or it is acquiring the features from the base class, and this derived class can also have its own features of its own. So that is nothing but base class and derived class. So here I am supposed to create one base class and I am supposed to create only one derived class. For the derived class, we need to create an object. So for derived class only we have to create an object, not for the base class. So when I am creating an object, with the help of that object, I am going to acquire the properties from the base class. That means I am going to call the member functions and data members which is resides in the base class. So now let me explain you how to illustrate the or how can I use the single inheritance concept in my program. Here I have 2 header files, that is #include iostream.h, that is for input output operation, and then I have conio.h. Then here what I am creating? I am creating a class. What is the class name then? So I have taken a class name as a base. What is the class name here? That is base. So this indicates opening of a class, and I have several data members as well as the member function. Then what are the data members that I am taking? that is roll number of the data type integer. What is the first data member that I have? That is roll number of the data type int, and I have a name variable which is of the data type character, and it comes under the scope of private access specifier. So which can access these private data members? Only the member of this class can access the data members which I have declared under the scope of private. Okay, so these are the two data members of a class base. So class name is what? Base. Here I have one more member function. What is the name of this member function? So that is read. So I am taking read as a member function name. Whether I am declaring or defining this member function, I am defining. So how can I say this I am defining? Because this member function has its body within the class definition. Because here I have not closed the scope of a class. At the end I am closing the scope of a class. That means I am defining this member function inside the class definition. Getting? Here void is a return type and read is a member function of a class base. So what are the contents that I have in a read member function? Here I am taking the name and roll number of a student. What I am taking? I am taking the roll number as well as the name. So where the value of that roll number and name will going to store? That will be stored in the variable called roll number and name respectively. Getting? Here by making use of this cout statement, I am asking the user to enter the roll number as well as the name. So whatever the content that you are going to give, that will be saved in roll number as well as the name by making use of cout and cin statement. So and I am going to close the scope of this read member function. I am going to close the scope of this read member function. And I have one more member function, that is display. What is the one more member function of a class base? So you have to remember one thing, I am creating two class, one base class and one derived class. So in a single base class, I have two data members, that is roll number and name, and I have two member function, that is read and display. So in read, I am going to take the roll number as well as the name of a student or employee, anything that you can consider. Okay. So in display function, I am going to display the content of roll number as well as the name. So these are the things what I am manipulating with base function or a base class. Here by making use of the cout statement, I am displaying the roll number as well as the name. So within double quotes, whatever I am going to take, that will be displayed on a screen as a statement. If I am using the same name as a variable name, then whatever the content is there, that will be displayed on the screen. Okay. So here I am taking roll number and name. So I am displaying the content of roll number as well as the name, which is resides in the ROLLNO. That is the variable name, and I have one more variable, that is name. So the content will be stored there. So with the help of read, I am going to take the value for the roll number as well as the name. Getting? After that, I am going to use display function. In that display function, I am going to display the content of roll number as well as the name. Getting? And I am going to close the scope of this display function. After that, I am closing the class scope. So what does this indicates? This indicates the end of a base class. This indicates the end of a base class. Now I am done with base class. Now we'll see how to create a derived class for this in order to acquire the properties from base class. So what was the syntax that we have learnt in a previous session? In order to create a derived class, first I must take the keyword class. After that, I need to specify the derived class name, and then colon, that indicates we are inheriting the features from base class. Then I am supposed to take a visibility mode, whether it is privately derived or a publicly derived or protectedly derived. Then I must take the name of a base class. So now we'll see how can I create or how can I define the derived class. So here I have a class keyword and I am taking the class name as a derived. What is the derived class name? I am taking derived, and I have a colon that indicates I am inheriting the features from base class. Then what is the name of a base class here? That is base. Class name is base, and how I'm using the visibility mode, whether it is public, private or a protected. So here I'm taking as a public mode. I'm taking as a public mode. Then now we'll see what are the data members that I have in a derived class. So what are the data members or variables that I'm taking? I'm taking 3 variables. So which are the 3 variables that I have? M1, M2 and T. Which is of the data type integer. Which is of the data type integer, and I have declared under the scope of private. Under the scope of private access specifier. Getting? So here M1, M2 and T specifies that I am taking 2 subject marks. Then I am going to add the value of M1 with M2. So then whatever the value that I am going to get, that will be copied to total, that is T. That is regarding the variables array data members that I have taken in a derived class. So under the scope of public, I have 2 member function which is related to class derive. So which are the 2 member function that I have? I have read1. What is the member function name here? Read1 is the member function name. So you just need to recall which was the member function that I have used in the base class, that is read1. I have used read1 in the derived class and I have taken read in the base class. So coming to the derived class, here I have a member function called read1. If I am inheriting the features from the base class, in the sense, I can also have the copy of that base class. That is, read and display or the copy of that base class will be copied to the derived class called derive. So, in this, derived class can also have its own member functions as well as the data members. So, I am taking read1 and display1 as the member function which comes under a class called derive. So here read1 is the member function of a class derive. So what are the content that I have in read1? Here I am taking the value of M1 and M2. So that I can call that as first marks as well as the second marks. So here you can see that enter the first marks and second marks. So when you get this line, at the time user has to give the value for M1 as well as M2. So in Cin, I am going to take the value of M1 and M2. After getting the value of this M1 and M2, I am going to add. So for that value will be copied to variable called T. So that you can see here T is equal to M1 plus M2. Then I am going to end the scope of this read1 member function which comes under a class called derive. What is the next member function that I have in a derived class? That is display1. So you just recall display is the member function of a base class and display1 is the member function of a derived class. So here I am taking one more member function of a derived class, that is display1. It is a member function which comes under derived class. So then what are the content I am using in order to display? So here I am displaying the content of first marks, second marks and total marks. So where the value of this first marks has been stored, that will be in the M1 variable, because here by making use of this read1 member function, I have given the value for M1 as well as for the M2. So where the total marks going to store, that will be comes under the variable called T. So that here I am taking the T variable in order to display the total marks. So then I am going to close the function display1, which is a member of a class called derive. So here you have to remember one thing. I am having a own copy of the derived class. Along with that, I have the content of a base class in the derived class. So derived class is a class which will going to acquire the properties from a base class. So that now you have to understand read and displays are the member function of a base class. But if I am inheriting the features from the base class to derived class, at that time this derived class can also have the copy of that base class, that is read and display member function will also become the member of this derived class. And this derived class can also has its own data types. That means it can also has its own data members as well as the member function. So then what are the new features that I am including in the derived class? That is its M1, M2 and T. So these are the data members, and I have two member functions, that is read1 and display. After that, I am going to end the scope of this derived class. I am going to end the scope of this derived class. So let me move to the main function. Once I am done with the creation of the base class and derived class, because here I am taking single level inheritance. If it is single level inheritance, then there must be only one base class and one derived class. So base class is a class which will going to create or which will going to give its properties to the new created class, that is derived class. So when I come to the derived class, the class which will going to acquire the properties from its base class or a parent class or from a super class. Getting? So now we'll see the main function here. Here I have a void main. So where the actual execution of a program get started, that is main function, and I am going to create an object for the derived class. So always you must remember that we have to create an object for the derived class, not to the base class. So which is the derived class in this function? Derive is a derived class name. So that I am going to create an object for the derived class. So derive is the class name here, and OB is the name of an object. OB is the name of an object. So with the help of this object, I am going to access the data members and member function of the base class. So which is the base class here? Class base is a base class name. I am going to fetch or I am going to acquire the properties from base class to derived class. So here you can see that here I am creating an object for the derived class, that is derive OB. After that I am calling a member function called read. So read is member function. It comes under whether base class or a derived class. So it comes under a base class. So if I am inheriting something, in the sense I am able to access or I am able to inherit the features from base class. So that with the help of this object I am going to access the member function of a base class. So coming to this line ob.read. So when I am using this ob.read, at that time the control will be moved back to this read function. The control will be moved back to this read function. Then whatever the content is there in the read function, that will be displayed on the screen of the output. So if I am executing this line, then I am going to get output like enter the roll number and name. Enter the roll number and name. So here I am going to give some value for the roll number as well as to the name. I am going to take 1204 as a roll number. I am going to give ABC as a name of a person or a student. Again the control will move back to this point ob.read1 function. You have to remember whether read1 is either a member function of a class, base class or a derived class. It is a member function which comes under derived class. So when I am using this operation or when I am calling this member function read1, at that time control will be moved to this read1 function. The control will be moved to read1 function. Then what is there in the read1 function? It will going to ask the user in order to enter the first marks as well as the second marks. So when it encounters this line, it will come here and it will blink the cursor. At that time, I must take the value for M1 as well as to the M2. So I am going to take the value of M1 as 50 and M2 as 60. I am going to take the value of M1 as 50 and M2 as 60. So once all the value is given, then total will be calculated based on the M1 and M2 marks. What is the M1 and M2 value here? I have given 50 for M1 and 60 for M2. Then it will going to find the total of that M1 and M2, that is 110. That will be stored in the variable called T. That will be stored in the variable T. So let me get back to this point. ob.display. Here ob is the object and dot is the operator which help me to access the content or the member of a class or data members and member function of a class. So display is a member function which comes under base class. So if I am using that line, again the control will be moved back to this display member function. It will move back to the display member function. What I have in this display function? So here it will going to display roll number and name. So what it will going to display? It will going to display roll number and name which I have given by making use of the read function, which I have given by making use of the read function. Here it will going to display like 1204 as a roll number and ABC as a name. ABC as a name. I will come back to this line again, that is ob.display1. Whether display1 is a member function of a class base or derived class. It is a member function which comes under derived class. At that time, when I am calling that display1 member function, again the control will be moved back to this display1 member function. What are the contents that I have in display1? It will going to display first marks as well as the second marks. After calculating those two things, it will going to display total marks. It will going to display total marks. Here you can see in the output that is first marks is 50 because already I have given by making use of read1 member function. I have given the value of m1 and m2 by making use of the read1 member function. Here, it will going to take second subject marks as 60. What is the total of those two? That will be 110. That will be copied to the last line of a display1 member function. That is total marks. Getting? After that, I am going to end the scope of this void main or a main function. This is how single inheritance will going to work. I have only one base class and only one derived class. So content of the base class will be copied to the derived class and derived class can also have its own properties or a behaviors. So this is how single inheritance will going to work. For that you have to remember one thing. This is very important line. I need to create a derived class and I must inherit the features of base class to derived class. For that, I need to specify the visibility mode along with base class name. So I hope you all understood with single level inheritance and it is also important for 5-mark question. Let me move on to the next topic. Already we know that what you mean by base class and what you mean by derived class. So base class is a class whose properties are inherited by newly created class. That means the base class is a class which will going to give its property to the newly created class, that is to the derived class. So when I am inheriting something, in the sense I am going to get the copy of base class. So for example, here you can see that I have a base class called A. So what is the name of a base class? That is A, and I have two derived classes, that is class B and derived class is C. So if I am inheriting something, in the sense the copy of that base class A content will be copied or will be inherited to the derived class B as well as to the C. Then what about this derived class D? So because this derived class D is inheriting the features from both derived class B as well as from C. So what it indirectly means, it will going to inherit or it will going to get two copy of the base class data. So it will going to inherit or it will going to have the two copy of base class data. So that means this content of base class A will be copied to derived class B, but this derived class D is inheriting the features from this derived class C, so that it will going to have one copy of this A. Along with that, this base class A content will be copied to derived class C as well. So if this derived class D is inheriting the features from the C itself, again it will going to have one more copy of the base class A. So what it means? See, this derived class D will going to have two copy of the content of a base class A. So how to avoid these consequences or how to avoid the ambiguity? Then I am supposed to take a keyword called virtual. I supposed to take a keyword called virtual. So I have to use the virtual keyword while defining the derived class, so that only one copy of the base class will be copied to the derived class. So we'll see the syntax here. Here I have a class A. So that is the base class and it may contain several data members and member function as well. I am going to close the class. Again I am creating one derived class, that is class B, and I have used a virtual keyword. So this keyword helped me out to have only one copy of the base class instead of more than one copy of the base class. So that is the usage of virtual base classes. So here I am going to take one visibility mode, that is public, and A is the name of a base class. Again I am going to create one more derived class, that is C, and I have a keyword called virtual. That means I am taking this base class A as a virtual. So instead of taking 2 copies to the derived class D, it will going to have only 1 copy of the base class data. So here I am creating one derived class D. So I am inheriting the features from both B as well as from C. So indirectly it will going to take only 1 content or 1 copy of the content of base class A. So this is how virtual base class will going to work. Then next move on to the next topic, that is abstract class. Already we know the topics regarding base class and derived class. But already we know the topics of base class and derived class. So you guys must know that we have to create an object for the derived class, not for the base class. But what if I don't want to create an object at all for a particular class? At that time, I must consider that class as a abstract class. At that time, I must consider that as a abstract class. So abstract class are the class which is not used to create an object, which is not used to create an object. That means it will going to act only as a base class. It will going to act only as a base class. From this abstract class, we can inherit its features, or we can acquire some properties from that abstract class instead of creating an object. So for that, we are going to use an abstract class concept. So here you can see that abstract class is a class that is not used to create an object. So that is not used to create an object. If I am not creating an object, in the sense that class will become a base class that will going to act as a base class. So instead of creating an object for a particular class, if I make that as a base class by making use of this abstract classes concept, so then I am not able to create an object for the particular class. So this is what about abstract classes. We'll move on to the next topic. So before getting into the program of this using of constructor and destructor in the derived classes, here you have to remember one thing, or you have to recall something like constructor and destructor. We know that constructor has same name as of the class, and it will be comes under public section, and it has no return type. Right? So these are the features which is comes under constructor, and when I am creating an object, at that time constructor will be called automatically. So now we'll see how can I use this constructor and destructors in derived class. Already we know that we are going to create an object for the derived class, not to the base class. When I'm creating an object for the derived class, at that time which constructor must be called and which destructor must be called first, we'll see now. Here I have a class keyword and I have one base class. The name of a base class is base class itself, and I have opening of a scope of that base class. Under the protected, I don't have any data members here, but I have a member function. Am I calling this member function as a constructor or a member function? I need to check. So it comes under public scope, that is access specifier. I have a base class along with the function. Along with the parenthesis, nothing but what? Function. This is a member function. I am calling this base class as a member function because I don't know whether it is a constructor or a normal function. I need to check it out. So here I need to check it out whether the name or member function name is same as the base class name. Yes, it is right. It has the same name as of the class. And it comes under public section and it has no return type, so that I can say that this base class is a constructor. This base class is a constructor, and this has some code offline and it will end the scope of this base class. And I am creating one derived class. So here class is a keyword and derived class name is a derived class itself, and I have a colon that represents I am inheriting the features from this base class to the derived class. Getting? So publicly I am inheriting the features of base class to derived class. So this base class is the name of a base class. After that, this opens the scope of this derived class. So we have a protected access specifier. Under the public, I am creating one constructor. How can I call this as a constructor? Because it has same name as of the derived class name, and it comes under public section, and it has no return type, so that I can call this as a constructor. Okay, and it has several lines of code. This opens and ends the scope of this derived class constructor, and I am closing the scope of this derived class. So after this, I must create an object for the derived class. If I am using constructor concept in my program, in the sense, if I am creating an object or if I am declaring an object, in the sense, at that time automatically constructor will be called. Here I am creating an object for the derived class. So can I call the derived class constructor first? No. If I am using or if I am creating an object, in the sense, at that time the constructor of a base class must be called first. Constructor of a base class must be called first. So when I am going to create an object for the derived class D, let me take object as D. When I am creating or when I am using this object, at that time the control will be moved back to the base class constructor instead of this derived class constructor, because this derived class constructor will going to acquire the features from the base class. So whatever the constructor is there in the base class must be executed first, then it will come to the constructor of the derived class. It is regarding constructor. Then if I have a destructor in base class as well as the derived class, then how it will be the situation? At that time when I am calling or when I am using the destructor function, it will works in a reverse manner. It will works in a reverse manner. That means if I am using the destructor in the derived class, then that will be called first, and it will going to erase the content or it will going to destroy the resources which is allocated in the derived class function. After that, the control will be moved back to the destructor of a base class. Then whatever the resources which is allocated by the constructor in the base class, that content will be destroyed. So this is the things which you must understand regarding how can I use constructor and destructor in the derived class. Remember one thing, I have a base class. In that I have a base class constructor as well as base class destructor, and I have one more, that is derived class. I have a derived class. In that derived class, I have derived class constructor as well as it must be under public. Here also it must be under public. So, and I have destructor of a derived class. Already we know that we are supposed to create an object for the derived class. When I am creating an object for the derived class, at that time control will be moved to the base class constructor, not to the derived class. When I am using destructor in base class and derived class, at that time first the destructor of a derived class will be called first. After that, when I am calling this destructor member function or a destructor, at that time it will going to erase or it will going to destroy the resources which is allocated by the derived class constructor. Then constructor works in top down approach and destructor in a derived class works in bottom up approach. So these are the things that you have to remember when you are using constructor and destructor in the inheritance concept. So this ends the chapter of inheritance. Here I have several important questions for you all. So in this chapter you have to concentrate on 5 marks question. So recall all the contents from the first 2 sessions. So you have to concentrate what you mean by inheritance and what are the need or advantages of using inheritance, how the visibility mode works and what are the levels of inheritance. In each level you must be concentrate on its diagrammatic representation as well as the definition. And coming to today's session, you must concentrate on a program in order to illustrate the single level inheritance. After that, how can I use the virtual class as well as the abstract class? Then you have to concentrate on how can I use the constructor and destructors in the derived class, how the priority will be changes when it comes to constructor and destructor. Here I have several important questions. So these are the 5 marks important questions that you are supposed to be prepared for your examination. I hope you all understood with last 2 sessions of inheritance. So if you learn all these concepts, surely you are going to get out of out marks, that is 5 out of out. So I'm gonna meet you in the next session with the next chapter. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Meet you again. Thank you.